manayim shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov u'manayim 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 shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov da 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 hinei ma tov da 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 hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov da 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 hinei ma tov dai dai da 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 hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me be a sanctuary, pure and holy, right and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad shevet achim gam yachad shevet achim gam yachad.
You got me twice on both of those transitions. I was like, oh, let's go. But now it's time that we turn to page 120 for lighting our candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. You make it look so easy.
If we can all stand, and those of you at home who are watching online, if you wish to stand, that's wonderful as well. We are raising ourselves to a higher plane of holiness, of course, with the Shabbat, and the sweetness of this wine represents the sweetness of all of our souls as we enhance it on this Shabbat and hopefully nourish ourselves for the coming week through rest, through study, and through the experiences that Shabbat provides. And we sing together on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher girishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho be'ahava v'ratzon hinechilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techira lemigroi kodesh zecher letzihot mitzrayim kivanu v'choto ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodechecho be'ahava uve'ratzon hinechaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashagot. And we say together, L'chaim, to life. Shabbat Shalom. Please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I was so ready to get going that it led to a little bit of a silly beginning here, and I'm going to try to keep that going with my drash, at least for the moment. So I hope you're ready for a little bit of silliness. Because this week's Torah portion, which is Parshat Maseh, and one could say that Maseh is actually named after a group of people that we all might know. It's not obvious, so let me give you a hint. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. That is right. This week's Torah portion is named Journey. It actually is. Now, of course, it's not really named for the rock band Journey, but Maseh, the Hebrew name of the Torah portion, it translates to journey, or actually journeys. So as I read this Torah portion, I couldn't help but hear, don't stop believing, hold on to that feeling, over and over and over in my head. But that's okay, because it's a great song, and it actually works with our portion. But first, Maseh. Maseh not only marks the end of the book of Numbers, but really it is the end of the narrative sections of the Torah. The Israelites, after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, have finally arrived at the banks of the Jordan, with the land of Israel on just the other side. For the Israelites, who are now within sight of the promised land, this is the epitome of a liminal moment. They are standing before a literal, physical boundary, the Jordan River, and they face a spiritual and an existential threshold. From slavery to freedom, wilderness to homeland, tribes to nationhood, a change in leadership, a change in religious practice, a change in identity from one generation to the next. These liminal moments of transition or change can be unbearably stressful, worrying about the future while still feeling unsettled about the past. In this case, the Israelites just finished with one war with Midian and found out that 2 of their tribes plan to stay east of the Jordan, not to mention the trauma from all the rebellions and plagues that occurred over the last 40 years. Now, they must prepare for not just one war, but a series of wars, with the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, while also taking on a whole new set of commandments specific to the land of Israel itself, and still maintain the system of sacrifices and worship in the Mishkan. By the way, those new commandments that they have to take on, the punishment for failing to follow them is to be expelled from the land that they're trying to get into. No pressure. So what do the Israelites do? They reflect on their journey. In that moment, God, through Moses, reminds the people exactly where they came from. The Israelites set out from Ramses and encamped at Sukkot. They set out from Sukkot and encamped at Etam. From Etam to Migdol, Pnei Hahirot to Marah, Marah to Elim, and so on and so forth, through the wilderness of Sin, through the wilderness of Sinai, through the wilderness of Sin, all different places, until they arrived in the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho. For most of these journeys, and I skipped quite a few, nothing other than the starting point and the end point are mentioned. No details, no stories, nothing. To be exact, 42 journeys are mentioned, and only 3 allude to any events taking place. So now it's your turn. 3 events, 40 years. What do you think they are? Shout them out. Okay. Shout them out. What? Okay. Mount Sinai and manna. Okay, so crossing the Red Sea is actually in there, but it comes before the full list. It basically says, you started here, you crossed the Red Sea, and then here are the list of wanderings. But you might think, what? Golden Calf, exactly. You might think, Revelation at Sinai has to be included. It's not. Golden Calf, it's not included. You might say maybe the scouts, because they're the ones who caused all this wandering in the first place. They're not mentioned. Not Amalek, not Korah, not Miriam, not Moses striking the rock in frustration, not Balak and Balaam, not Pinchas. None of the best-known stories from Exodus through Numbers are mentioned in these journeys. Only the 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees at Elim, the lack of drinking water at Rephidim, and Aaron's death at Mount Hor. For 47 verses, we essentially just have place names and a few minor references. This could not have been the most exciting of retellings, but perhaps that is the point. The Israelites spent 40 years in the wilderness. Everyone already knew the highlights. By the way, many of them had to have been traumatizing. But most of the time, it was probably pretty uneventful. Lots of waiting, and as those 42 journeys tell us, lots of wandering. However, uneventful does not mean empty or without purpose. While we often disproportionately remember and focus on the formative moments, whether they're treasured or traumatic, and which come to mind with relative ease, it's our day-to-day experiences of life which equally and perhaps even more so influence who we are and our way of existing in this world. A joke, a conversation, a shared meal, playing in the park, working with a colleague, a walk, a hike, a moment alone, time spent in community. These are the times that we often forget, but which live on in our subconscious, and only come to mind when they are drawn out once again by another subconscious clue, and usually in yet another uneventful moment. As one of my favorite childhood characters, Winnie the Pooh, says, doing nothing often leads to the very best of something. Indeed, the description of these journeys in our Torah portion reminds me of close friends just kind of gathered together, sitting around doing nothing. In that uneventful moment, one person, one individual need only say, "Hey, do you remember that time at that place?" and everyone immediately understands what they meant, which then often leads to a string of shared memories, from the joyous, like an oasis in the desert, to the silly, like water coming from hitting a rock. I mean, talk about tap water. Thank you. It's a groaner, I love it. Thank you. To even the sad, the death of a leader and a friend. These are not always the most formative moments of the group, but they might be the most cherished and appreciated. Those in which we find meaning both in the present and for the future. Rabbi Alvin Fine captures this beautifully in his poem, Life is a Journey. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, he says. Then, like our Torah portion, he lists the stages of that journey, universal experiences, successes, and failures, but without detail, reminding us that until not looking backwards or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high point along the way, but in having made the journey, step by step, a sacred pilgrimage. Victory lies not at some high point along the way, but in having made the journey. By focusing on the journey, we redirect our attention to those uneventful moments, which bring us meaning and comfort. They ground us and help us to more fully experience and be content with the current moment, even as we work to accept the past and appreciate the potential of tomorrow. And this is where Journey comes in. Yes, we're now back to the 1980s rock band, and the song, Don't Stop Believin'. While the lyrics have been interpreted in other ways, Jonathan Cain, the keyboardist and primary songwriter, is very clear about what the song is about. Don't stop believing. This is something that his dad told him over and over, not only as he struggled to make it as a musician, but just to make ends meet. Don't stop believing in yourself, in your dream, in the people around you, the world, the future. Wherever you're coming from, wherever you're going, don't stop believing. By focusing on the journey, we also reinforce this belief, our faith, and our hope for the future. When we remember when we remember all the paths that we ourselves have walked, and add them to those walked by so many who came before us, their journeys, their legacy, we put our present moment into perspective and understand that regardless of the highs and lows, we are here. This realization that we are here gives us a renewed sense of belief and purpose for two main reasons. First, the simple fact that we are here means we made the journey. Those before us made it, we made it, and we are capable of making the next one. We made the journey. And second, we are here because those before us made the journey. That legacy lives in us, and now we get to shape it. Their purpose, their values, their mission can guide and inspire us, but we, and we alone, get to decide what comes next. Of course, this is not always easy. There are those highs and lows, and liminal moments rarely are easy. Yet in those moments, this reflection allows us to more clearly see the immense opportunities before us. In looking across the Jordan, the Israelites, having just emerged from the wilderness, could easily have seen only more war, more rules, more hardship. But by reflecting on their journey, when they looked across the Jordan, they saw the promised land. So as we learn from Maseh, Rabbi Fine, Winnie the Pooh, and Journey the Band, may we remember to live in the journey. Allow doing nothing to lead to the very best of something. And of course, never stop believing. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We turn now to page 138 as we welcome Shabbat, the Sabbath bride, with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shemo v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishvianu Elam Yuchad, Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad, L'Shemu Tiferet V'Nifila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'lelcha, B'mekor ha'veracha, Me'rosh mikethem Nesuka, Ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Please stand and face the back of the congregation. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. B'oi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emune am segula. Boi chala, face the ark, and Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela.
On page 146, we remain standing for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
On page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 151, we join together in the middle of the page. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, and in the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. We turn to page 152 for the Shema.
And if we pause for just a moment, that Shema is very important, that word which we say listen or hear. What we need to do in order to hear our own souls, we have to quiet ourselves. So for just a moment, quiet. Think of where we are today. And enjoying these 25 hours of Shabbat. Shema Yisrael Adonai Elohim Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated.
Page 154, we chant together with our cantor.
Ve'ahavata ehit Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavvecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uverechtecha v'derech uveshochbecha uvekumecha uksharatam leot al yadecha v'chayu letotafot ben einecha uktavetam al mezuzot beitecha uvishearecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני Elohechem.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And so on page 158, we sing the Michamocha, the song that the Israelites sang as they crossed the Red Sea, one of the first things they did as a whole community as they entered into the wilderness.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Norah Tehilo, Osei Feleh, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamoga Nedar Bakodesh Nora Tehilo Ose Fele Malechutecha Ra'uvanecha Bokei Ayam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam Ze'eli anu ve'amaru Adonai himno ye'olam ha'eh Michamoga ba'erim Adonai Michamoga nedar ba'kodesh Michamoga ba'erim Adonai Michamoga nedar ba'kodesh Nora Tehilo Ose Fele Michamoga ba'erim Adonai Michamoga nedar ba'kodesh Michamoga ba'erim Adonai Michamoga nedar ba'kodesh.
From praying for freedom to praying for protection, the Hashkivenu focuses on another liminal moment, a liminal moment when we go to sleep. That's why we begin, if you look at the words of the prayer on page 160, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, O guardian, to life renewed.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom Le'ha'amidenu Shoreinu L'chayim Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalomecha Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalomecha Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake in morning's light. Teach us how to wrong from right. Oh Adonai, Amen, 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 Amen. Amen, amen, amen,
We turn to page 163 for meditation before our Amidah, our standing prayer, the Tefillah. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Page 164.
Thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world. scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Titam, Ufi Yagite Gidatekat, Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Titam, Ufi Yagite Gidatekat. Thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tivta, Ufi Yagite Givatevan. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tivta, Ufi Yagite Givatevan. Page 146. 66. I keep doing the 4 thing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasarim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer, Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, page 168, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atarav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Zomech nofrim v'rofech horim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, umido meroch, melech memit umekayeh, umat miach Yeshua, ונאמן אתה לאחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. Page 170. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. And we turn in our prayer books to page 175. And as we think of those liminal moments that Rabbi Reinhardt has spoken of and the journey that we are on, and thinking about that phrase or song, "Don't stop believing," certainly there are moments on the journey when we do. And yet we turn our thoughts and our hearts toward God and remind ourselves as we read together on page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha vayira na'avod. And we turn to page 177, and as we begin Shabbat, we stop for a moment and we take stock of our week, and we think of those moments, no matter how wonderful or how difficult our week was. There's at least one moment in our week for which we can be grateful and which we can offer thanks. And so we think of that moment, we hold it in our hearts and in our minds as we offer our gratitude to God at the top of page 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we turn to page 179 as together we offer a prayer for peace, and so too a prayer for peace that focuses on our country as we join together. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. And with peace on our minds and in our hearts, we turn to a prayer for the state of Israel, written by our own Eva Ashner. It is not in your book. Thank you, Adonai, for granting Israel the courage, the strength, and the power to defend her borders and her people. May the country continue to flourish. May it never give up hatikva, the hope that the day will come when Israel will be at peace with her neighbors. And may Israel always exist as the homeland for the Jewish people. Amen. And we turn in our prayer books to page 371 as we turn our hearts, our thoughts, and our prayers toward those who are in need of healing. And if you are thinking of someone this evening and you would like to send their name into the heavens with our prayer this evening, I ask you to rise now, and we'll join together calling out those names and sending them toward the heavens. And we take all of those names as we send them forward also into our hearts. And certainly on this Shabbat, we are thinking of all in our greater St. Louis community who certainly are in need of healing after the floods of this week. And may God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and certainly of spirit, as together we join in Misha Berach, our prayer for healing.
Misha Berach Avotinu Lekol HaMerama May the source of strength, Ubales the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yisheverach imoti nekol haberacha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah, Shema, the renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And we take a moment for silent and personal prayer.
יהיו לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Legoari. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, יהיו לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai Tzuri,
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. My name is Carolyn Satz, and I'm a member of the United Hebrew Board of Trustees. Tomorrow at United Hebrew, the Torah study begins at 9 a.m. in the library or via Zoom. Shabbat morning services begin at 10:30 a.m. in the sanctuary and via live stream. Some upcoming events as a Red Cross blood drive on Tuesday, August 2nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. For additional information on other upcoming classes and programs, please visit the UH website. Thank you to our tech team for making it possible for all of us to be together virtually tonight. The gift shop will be open on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 12 to 3 p.m. or by appointment.
And additionally, I just want to remind everyone, it gives you a few days to prepare that Tuesday is election day, important for everybody to go and vote. And a reminder, because there's a few folks who fit this category, there will be at Daylight Donuts starting at 7:30 for those in their 20s and 30s, a special oneg with Rabbi Reinhardt. So for those who fall into that category, I'm going to sneak in. I don't fit in that category anymore, but please come. If you're listening and you're in your 20s and 30s, please come. There will be adult milkshakes and donuts at this oneg. So join us. And so we turn now in our prayer books to page 586 for Aleinu. If you would all please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולו יוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא צמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא סמך אלוקינו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591, ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. And we turn to page 595. There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This Shabbat, the heartfelt condolences of our congregation go out to the family of Sherman Sklar. We are in the period of Shloshim for Francis Silverman, Stephen Frederick Tachman. And this week, this Shabbat, we observe the yahrzeits and we lovingly remember Mert Abraham, Edwin Abrams, Hy R. Adler, Jack Baskin, Pearl Sferin Beldner, Sue Blatt, Joseph Bohm, Harry D. Cohen, Marvin Cohen, Sarah Duhov, Ray Eder, Leona Elkins, Gerald Ingman, Harry Feldman, Jeanette E. Fishman, Ann Gallant, Benjamin Gaylor, Morris L. Gitlin, Gilbert Goldenhirsch, Joseph Goldstein, Dr. Marvin Grossman, Ruth Hacker, Thelma B. Hafner, Goldie Duhov Jackaway, Joyce Kabak, Morris Keene, Matilda Barg Kramer, Susan Friedman Kramer, Esther Lasky, Robin Stoliar Lloyd, Betty P. Mann, Alan Margulis, Sadie Mathis, Anna Marie Millstone, Morris Moss, Marky Newmark, Anna Palins, Jordan Pittler, Lillian Plax, Abe Polinsky, Norman Lewis Robertson III, Bonnie Ross, Esther Podolsky Routman, Herbert Ellis Rudner, Jacob J. Sachs, Stanley J. Schindler, Charlene Schneider, Rose B. Schneider, Sophie Schnoor, Dorothy Shukar, Michael Joseph Schwartz, William I. Seltzer, Corinne Shapiro, Ben L. Schifrin, Harry Schultz, Bernice Singer, Henrietta Spielberg, Sylvia Tischler Spiritus, William Billy Sussman, Adele Trugman, Max Tureen, Barbara Deichman-Wegman, Paula J. Weintraub, Louis Wolf, Frank Wolkowitz, Lorraine Zeman, Irving Zweidel. Zichronam livracha, may each of their memories be for blessing as we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598, and we rise. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon, Uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, Yit barach ve'yish tabach ve'yit pa'ar ve'yit romam ve'yit naseh, V'yit hadar ve'yit alev ve'yit halal Shemei d'kudashah barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. And on this Shabbat, it is hard to believe it is the last Shabbat of July. We are 7 months into this year. Where is the year going? We think of our journeys as we continue to journey through the year, and actually in 8-ish short weeks will be Rosh Hashanah. I know. So the journey continues. But as we continue to move through Shabbat, we take Shabbat as an opportunity to rest, that 25 hours, as Cantor Eicher said, to quiet ourselves, to allow ourselves to just pause and not to have to sit in all of the noise and the chatter of the world around us, but to close it off for just a little bit, to refresh, to renew, and then to move forward into a new week with renewed energy and vigor. And so tonight as we close, we pray for peace, peace of quiet, peace of mind, and a peace that will allow us to continue moving forward and making our world a better place.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Al kol Yisrael v'yimeru, Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al kol Israel Ve'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu